chime in on what's happening with your favorite KFAN program. Make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Bryant text line. Let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That's 64686. Standard message and data rates apply.
Couple 13-14 pastime comedies tend to be the legendary one. Mark Rosen joins us now. I saw a new movie this weekend.
You saw, a new one?
Yeah, called Catch Me If You Can.
Well, that's new. In your mind, it's new.
It is new. How old is that now?
Oh, man.
2002, I think it was.
It sounds about right with Tom Hanks and DiCaprio. It's a good, we were just talking off. It's a very good movie. I mean, I thought it's based on a true story with the forger and what he did, but I've watched it a bunch of times when it's popped up on cable, at least bits and pieces of it that I like and enjoy. Good cast, Amy Adams, and it's
Tommy Hanks is in it.
Yeah, Tommy Hanks is very good. He plays the agent, and they got some fun little stuff that goes on.
What's DiCaprio's dad? Name of the actor?
Oh my God!
I'm the same way. I can see him.
I know.
He's been in everything.
I know it.
Why can't I think of his name? Now I'm mad.
Well, you're mad. I'm embarrassed.
Well, you should know. You're the movie guy here.
Yeah, he's been in more cowbell plays.
Until you find his name, I can't go on.
Oh, give me a second. God, this is so bad. You had to do this to me.
A couple of old guys struggling.
Wait, this is the wrong...
Christopher
Walken, yeah. First of all, is it wrong?
Martin
movie.
Sheen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Christopher Walken. I knew I could get it eventually.
Yeah, he's been in a whole bunch of movies. I go back to Christopher Walken. I think his most riveting performance was in The Deer Hunter. That is so... There's there's scenes in there when he's playing Russian roulette with his captors, and is difficult to watch as any scene I think I've ever seen in a movie. He had lost his mind, and all that, but he's been in a lot of, he's a great dancer. He does it all, has done it all over the years. But
he's got to be mid to late 80s by now, right?
I know these things sneak up on you. I know. I constantly, I think I was watching like Dustin Hoffman walking into a theater or restaurant, and I went, how old is Dustin Hoffman? He was like 84 or something. It's just. Yeah, I got.
You have a chance to watch any of that National Hockey League series? Boy, that Vegas Golden Knights Club is pretty good. They found a way to beat the unbeatable greatest team of all time.
How about that?
The
55-56 win Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah. Supposedly supposed to be one of the greatest teams ever assembled. Nobody can beat them. It's once they got past Dallas or Minnesota, whoever, the Dallas or Minnesota to beat up on one another.
Sure.
Then that beaten and downtrodden team was going to get smoked by the Avalanche, which they did.
Right.
That would be the Wild. And then it was just a coronation at that point. Do you like parades? They were going to have one in Denver.
Well,
might want to cancel that parade right about now.
I turned away from the game when it was 3-0 Avs the other night, thinking, well, they're not going to blow a 3-0 lead. We're the only ones that do that.
Yeah.
Then I turned it over. It was 3-3. I went, wait, what?
Yep.
Then I watched Vegas, and they could. Is it tonight? They could wrap it up. Right? Yeah, it is tonight because Carolina won in overtime against Montreal last night. My
tonight at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm pulling for the Canadians.
Nathan McKinnon says apparently they think he's going to play tonight, even though he didn't practice today, and he looked slower than me the other night.
I know. They're trying to just stick him on the power play. I mean, and understandably so, but
he can't skate.
No, he can't.
And that's in the game when you've got adrenaline going. Like, I can't imagine the following day.
It's got to be swollen. It hurts like hell. I can't imagine lacing them up.
My guess it's what all athletes do, especially those that are highly regarded, that are really good at what they do. It's like you almost feel like you gotta take one for you gotta give it a try, right? You gotta try to go, even though in many cases here's what my guess would be is he'll try and then he won't finish the game, but I don't know, maybe he won't.
I know I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, if he is playing like he did the other night when he came back from the injury, you don't put him on the ice. Yeah, I'd rather have the 13th forward is going to provide more for you than Nathan McKinnon kind of in that spot.
Understandably so.
And
can't move.
Even on the power play,
above average at that.
Sure, you might make the right pat. Like you can't help on the forecheck. They're coming up the ice basically 4-on-4 because you're just standing in the neutral. Like he can't move.
Man, I don't know the amount of energy it took all these teams. I'm talking about Colorado, Dallas, and the Wild to trying to move up in the standings and pushing forward, pushing, and to try to get the best possible playoff spot, right? And then you realize doesn't mean squat. I mean, what are we doing here? Vegas is laying in the weeds, doing their thing. They've already won, a couple of cups? Or just one? Tenna.
Vegas, just the one.
Just the one. But they've been in the finals.
Yeah.
They're always there. I mean, it doesn't matter what. So, okay, just finish in fourth place.
Well, they went to the finals, I think, in their first year of existence.
Yeah, they still got one or two players, I think, from that team. But
well, and, there was... Who was I talking? Maybe it was with Tennessee.
Blakemore, I heard you talking to him.
Yeah, it was Blakemore and I were talking. Blakemore was bitter that the Knights, they right out of the gate as an expansion club,
right?
They went to the finals. They kind of had, I wouldn't say the pick of the litter, but the expansion draft, the expansion draft was very kind to them. But as I said to them, the league, I think that's the smart thing too. I know it can annoy fans of other teams that have been around a long time and didn't have that same benefit. But if you're going to start a team from scratch and you don't give them anything at all, I mean, it's going to be a long time unless they hit it lucky on a couple of drafts and make some savvy trades. But if you're playing with a bunch of the lesser players in the league that you've gotten from other teams that were left unprotected in the draft, it's going to be a long time. That team they have to be able to come out and be decent at least to start, or you're not going to create much buzz in that town.
I just don't think anyone expected them to have that kind of course, no one could have expected them to go to the finals in their first year of existence. That seems so out of bounds from what any expansion team would go through in any sport. I'm trying to remember when the North Stars were granted their, the expansion team. And I know we've talked about it a couple of times. We both happened to watch, we're of that age. We watched that series against the St. Louis Blues, back in Red Berenson's days. And the North Stars took them to 7 games. And
Bill Goldsworthy's days, Jude Druin's days.
Yeah. Cesar Maniago and Gump Worsley, all those guys. But I'm just saying they had some good players. They were, for the most part, long in the tooth. That were around for quite a while, but the North Stars were, then they went through kind of a rougher time before they got back into it later on in their illustrious time here in Minnesota before they went south. But yeah, it's hard for any expansion team and to kind of get that kind of talent that Vegas did right out of the gate and they've maintained it for the most part. That's credit to them.
Well, but like I say, I think for those that are maybe annoyed that they, you have to give those expansion teams a fighting chance for it. It's so difficult to build a team from scratch. I mean, if you bring a new team to Vegas and go, here you go, and you get basically nothing but cast-offs. And unproven players, it's going to be a long time before.
We've watched long-established teams, manage to bury themselves in the standings. Any number of leagues or sports that do it. Doesn't matter how many years you've been in existence. It's how you manage your roster and how you manage your salaries, et cetera, et cetera. So we see that a lot. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Well, they could wrap it up tonight. I mean, it's stunning. And, they can sit around and wait then for a Carolina and Montreal winner. I think Carolina's got a stronger team overall, but, the fans in Montreal were crushed last night because it looked like they had taken the lead. Their player was offsides by inches on one of those calls. The goal was reversed, and rightfully so. He was technically offsides by, 3 inches or something. But it cost, theoretically cost him the game. And that's hard to sit and absorb when you're playing at home and you have that opportunity to take a series.
Happened in the Wild against Vegas last year.
It sure did. Yeah, it sure did. Oh, nice habitants.
You like the The Canadiens of Montreal. Huh?
I do. Oh, I mean, I've talked about it with you many times. I mean, I love the fact that everyone's wearing their storied jersey. I mean, their sweater, whatever you want to call it, the CH in the stands. I've loved that team ever since when CBS televised hockey back when I was first starting out, and it was just the 6 original teams, and Montreal, of course, would be on TV quite a bit, and with
You love Yvon
Cornway, Kenny Dryden, the big defenseman they had,
Lemaire,
a guy named Jacques Lemaire. Yeah, they were my team. I loved them, and it was every week. It was Montreal against Chicago with Bobby Hull and Stan Mikita and Esposito, or the Rangers and Ed Giacomin and Rod Gilbert, and the same teams every single week because there were only 6 of them.
Correct.
And that was it. And they'd have the game of the week on, and I think it was Dan Kelly was the play-by-play guy. Just a phenomenal play-by-play voice. But it was, I think, Sunday afternoons, and that was it. Game of the week. Like baseball used to have the game of the week with Tony Kubek and Kurt Gowdy. That was a special thing to tune in and watch a nationally televised baseball game or a hockey game when hockey was not, when it's really kind of in its infancy. When you think about where the game is now and the number of cities that are playing it in the NHL, hard to imagine just 6 teams. That was it. Toronto, yeah.
It is crazy how they were even able to hold a league when you only have 6 teams.
I know.
So you just play the same teams over and over and over.
PWHL just did it last year.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did.
Exactly what they did.
Yeah.
Now they're going to be up to 12 next year.
Yeah. So that's why it's hard to stay on top because you are losing good players from your roster. As the Lynx have found out, but they've kind of rediscovered themselves a little bit, as Cheryl often does with her basketball team.
Well, I saw a story today, Fish Wrap Factory West Side, and it was talking about foul discrepancies in the
NBA or
WNBA.
Okay.
The story says, when the Lynx beat Toronto, there was plenty Coach Cheryl Reeves liked about what her team did, but there was also relief about what it didn't do, rack up fouls. Considerably better to the team's 14 personal fouls. It's the first time we've said it. Last WNBA season, coaches and players called out the league's increasing physicality in what they felt was inconsistent officiating. Prominent among the voices were Reeve and Lynx star Collier. Her ankle was injured in Game 3 of the playoff series. Reeve called the officiating malpractice after being ejected. Collier said referees losing control of games was unsustainable in regards to player safety during her head-turning interview. Lynx are averaging 21.7 personal fouls per game, hovering around the league average of 21.6. The Atlanta Dream, who visited the Lynx on Wednesday, are averaging the fewest, 17.4. That's about equal to last year's league average of 17.5. The Lynx average 16 fouls per game. In 2025, they haven't averaged more than 17.5 per game. The priority is just more consistency, Collier said before the season. She said, quote, that is the goal for players and refs is consistency, and that's the hardest thing to achieve. And, I've always... it's hard for me to feel any sympathy for players when they talk about the consistency thing because I guess what they're saying is, why is this a foul for one player and it's not for another player? If that's indeed what they're talking about, to me, it also it smells of that. Well, how can one team have 22 fouls in a game and the other one maybe only has 12? Well, I don't think you're supposed to try to keep it even if maybe one team is doing a better job of playing defense and they're not committing as many fouls. It's not. Yeah. Is the officiating supposed to say, well, I got to kind of keep this even? I've never believed in that either.
I haven't either, but I think at times, like even in the NHL last night, and Tony, you were watching the game. Was it?
Well, they were letting them play last night. Oh
man, were they ever? I mean, and then there was forgetting the physicality of it. Was it? Carolina had too many men on the ice. It was in Montreal. I can't remember. Were you watching the game?
I didn't watch all of it.
Oh God,
I watched parts of it.
There was one near the end of the game. Someone's got to let us know. It was so obvious. There were 6 players on the ice, and there you could count them. And I wish I remembered which team.
Well,
was.
The Canadians had a goal taken off the board too.
Well, we just mentioned that.
Yeah, you talked about that.
Yeah, I mentioned that. But there was other. But I mean, in the NBA, in the finals, you're watching the physicality and the differences with officiating, and every referee, if it's brothers or whomever it is.
Yeah, but that's kind of in all sports, isn't it? Once you get to the postseason play, especially deep, and it's
got to overcome.
But as Tend to Be and I've talked about before, I'm not a big believer in. Well, you just got to swallow the whistle.
No.
Because you don't want the officials to determine the outcome of a game. But if there's a legitimate foul or penalty, how can you have to call it? That's the player still deciding the game because they're committing a penalty. I
think in the NHL, their human nature says let a lot more stuff go in overtime. That's all. Unless it's really egregious, I think a lot of times they just let it go because they don't want to give a team that kind of an advantage. But they earn it, then they earn it.
Let's take a break. Come back with more with the legendary Mark Rosen, Common and Tend to Be right here on The Fan.
And Meat Sauce take on Max Fuller and Parker Fox.
Couple 13-14 past. Common, Tend to Be, and Mark Rosen. A couple of text messages have come in regarding that play we were talking about in the Canadians Hurricanes game last night. It says Montreal had too many men and a guy touched the puck clear as day.
Right.
Refs blew the whistle, but then didn't call anything.
That's correct. And it was in Montreal, so obviously the fans aren't going to react negatively. But they clearly showed it on the replay that the player who was trying to get off the ice touched the puck automatically.
He says Montreal had too many men on the ice when the player who jumped on the ice. The puck hit his skates while the player who replaced was next to the boards is still on the ice.
Yep.
Officials all huddled for about 1 long minute. Goes, I wonder if there's a conversation when something like this, Jimmy, we got to call this. The puck hit his skates. No way, Mikey, not at this point in the game. Yeah. He didn't even try to play the puck, which he didn't, but the rule is the rule, right?
Well, and everybody on Carolina's bench was jumping up and pointing it out. And as it turns out, maybe it's poetic justice that they got the game winner and won it. So they got the game eventually. But, yeah, that was egregious. It wasn't even like a judgment call. That was one of those, like when somebody shoots the puck over the ice and it's a delay a game penalty. This was as egregious as anything, and I don't know why the officials, after huddling, decided not to call that too many men on the ice.
How about that gutty effort last night by the Cavaliers, trying to stand tall? Let's see if we can steal one here. Just take one game at a time. Let's show all the people in the country what Cleveland Cavaliers basketball is all about.
I think they showed it in game 1, and I thought we're going to have a hell of a series here. Remember, they had a 22-point lead with 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter against the Knicks. I'm going, they look like the kind of team that they just beat Detroit, right? I mean, they're. Donovan Mitchell and the rest of they look like a real contending type team. And in the words of the late Denny Green, they let him off the hook. When the Knicks came back and won that game, the Cavs may as well pack their bags for Turks and Caicos. It was over, Johnny.
Available to anybody.
Anybody. And they just caved. I mean, it wasn't just that game, but I remember watching that and going, wait, they didn't even put up much of a resistance. They had a 22-point lead. The game was over. And they always have the 99% chance that they're going to win this basketball game. And credit the Knicks, they turned the tables on them in a hurry, and then
the Cavs lost all 4 games by 10+ points. It was all 4 games by 10.
And I know you guys were talking about it. Can you imagine the audacity of James Harden come out and say, I think we have a better team? What?
Well,
in what world are you living in?
Well, he was. Was that game 1 or game 2 when they decided Brunson would just take it right? That was game 1, wasn't it? Didn't the Cavs have the big lead in game 1?
That's what I just said. Yeah, they had a 22-point lead.
And he went after Brunson. Just went after Harden, and I watched the highlight package. And literally, Harden looked like he was standing.
It's a Red Sea party.
It was as if he was standing in wet cement.
Yeah,
he offered token resistance where Brunson would do some crossover dribbling as he's going by. Harden would kind of stick out his hand like he's trying to tip the ball away. It was embarrassing as well.
He's an embarrassing defensive player. I mean, he's actually obviously scored a whole hell of a lot of points. He's helped teams win games, but he's at the point of his career where I think he's more of a liability.
Well, I thought I saw a note that he's tied with Karl Malone now with most playoff games played without winning an NBA title.
I wouldn't doubt it.
But Malone,
there was a bunch of uniforms.
Malone and company, didn't they run into
Jordan
a couple of times? Right? Wasn't it back? Did those two teams play back-to-back years in the finals? I
believe they did. With Stockton and Malone and Jordan and Pippen, and they always came out on the short end. And, Barkley had on his problems. You're trying to beat Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Good luck. It didn't happen very often. But yeah, I mean, the Cavs offered such little resistance. As it turns out, the Knicks beating Atlanta, then Philadelphia, they were kind of half into. I mean, and then the Cavs just caved. I mean, listen, the Knicks get a good week of rest now and wait for the winner of this heavyweight battle. But I heard you a little bit earlier, and I'm obviously pulling for the Knicks. I want to see them win it. For New York, I want to see Cat win it, but they're going to be underdogs no matter who they end up playing. But they're going to. I wouldn't underestimate them. They're playing awfully well on a roll, and they're not going to be an easy pushover for either one of those Goliaths that await them.
You like Big Meow? Would you rather have Bodega Cat or Rudy Gobert on your team?
Well, it wasn't either or. It was Rudy Gobert trade was made.
I'm just saying, would you rather have?
Well, of course I'd rather have. I mean, Cat, but one of the reasons why Cat is not known for his defense. We've seen that, and you got to. The Wolves had to improve their defense, and that's why they traded for Rudy Gobert and signed him to a long-term contract. It wasn't so much that trade; it was the idea that they went after, as it turned out, Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo for Cat, and you guys talked about it a little bit earlier. And I don't know all the specifics. Of course, the second apron of salaries and how it wasn't going to work for the Wolves to try to get, they made the trade, as you guys talked about, 3 days before the season started, which stunned everyone. And Cat was immersed in this community, on this team, and everything else about him. And I mean, he had a lot of detractors here. People were kind of going, I don't think this guy's going to ever get, he's not good defensively enough. He played well against the Joker in that one series, but he's not known for his defense. And, he had some rough games and rough times, but he doesn't have to be the man in New York right now. And that makes him even more dangerous, I think, because he's a great passer. He obviously can shoot the three, and he can, drive the lane and, make free throws. And he's a better all around player now because he doesn't have to be that guy. No, I mean, if they go up against San Antonio and like everybody else, what's your strategy going to be against the Wemby? I don't know. Can't imagine Cat being stuck with Wemby he'll fall out. If they attack him the way they need to attack him, but we'll wait and see how that all flushes out. But yeah, listen, what Karl Anthony Towns did, not just off the court as much as anything else, made him a fan favorite for a lot of reasons and a favorite in this community. And I wish him nothing but the best. And I hope he can close it out and win a title. It's been a long wait for the Knicks in New York. I know we always get tired. Well, the New York teams win this. Well, that's mostly the Yankees, and I guess if you look at it that way. But yeah, I'd love to see the Knicks do it.
The second apron that you talked about. Obviously,
the max contracts.
Yeah, there are severe penalties.
Yeah.
Including loss of taxpayer mid-level exception, inability to aggregate player salaries in trades or use trade exceptions, having their first-round draft pick frozen 7 years out if they remain above the threshold too often. Those are just some of the key restrictions that teams have to deal with. But many teams, including the Wolves, have had salaries in the second apron. So it's not like you can't.
I think that's why it took so long before they made the deal. I don't think, Tim Connelly wasn't, flipping a coin in his office thinking, should we or should we not? They obviously thought it through quite thoroughly, and he knew, even with the detractors, he knew the popularity of Cat here in town and what he meant to this franchise. I don't know. As it turns out, I don't think there's any question that Julius Randle is trade target number one this offseason. Rudy's probably not too far behind. Dante, unfortunately, won't be ready for probably most of next season with the Achilles tear that he had late in the year, which really hurt them. I'm not saying they would have won the series, but missing him was, they had no one to offset Anthony, defensively, offensively, 3-point shooting, veteran leadership. They couldn't make up for his loss, but, if no one else, you just got to move on, and I think Randall's going to be the target. There's so many names out there that, figuring out a way to watch, get a guard. I mean, you watch the guards on both OKC and San Antonio's young Turks they have out there running around with Castle and those guys. Those guys are awfully good. You can't draft young like that. If you're going to try to go get a Kyrie Irving, I don't know. So be it.
Yeah. Would you like Kyrie Irving?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I think he's better than Jalen Clark. What they have right now. I mean, if he's healthy, that's the problem. You're dealing with a 34 or 35-year-old guard that's brilliant when he's healthy, but staying on the court's a whole other matter.
The Supreme Court decision today benefits a local sports figure. We'll talk about that next with Mark Rosen, 10 to be in the Common Man right here on the Fan.
He's the pride of St. Louis Park. Just ask him. It's Mark Rosen with the Common Man.
Last segment of the Grum today. I'm Common. He's 10 to be. Mark Rosen here as well. The Brian Flores discrimination lawsuit is proceeding to open court following a major Supreme Court ruling today. The court rejected the NFL's final attempt to force the claims into private arbitration. Can you break that down into
it's a big win for Brian Flores in terms of this. He wanted to avoid arbitration because he feels, and probably rightfully so, that the NFL and Roger Goodell's hearing it. Who do you think he's going to side with? Flores wanted this to go to a open court. This goes back something like 4 years now when he filed a lawsuit against the NFL and three teams, Miami, the Giants, the Broncos, alleging systemic racial discrimination. He had a couple other coaches that were joined in it. He alleged that they had discriminated against him and other black coaches based on their race and denied them coaching in GM positions. So, it's not going to affect anything going on right now in Minnesota, but I think it's a win for him because now at least he gets to get this out in the open court and have his case heard and maybe, he'll be a trailblazer in some respects. I don't know. I mean, I'm not, my wife's the attorney in the family. I'll have to ask her about it a little bit more, but I know it gets a little deep in the weeds about exactly how this is going to proceed. Yeah. But I mean, in the meantime, he's at minicamp today and he's doing his job and he's trying to, it's not going to affect anything. He's certainly not suing the Vikings. He's nothing going on there. And so as we know, he got contract extension. So he's gainfully employed here with Minnesota.
Says the justice has rebuffed an appeal from the league, which wanted the case handled through its arbitration process rather than open court in New York. Justice Brett Kavanaugh dissented from the decision not to hear the case. The NFL has argued Flores should go through arbitration rather than the legal system, but lower courts have sided with the plaintiffs. The league said it respected the Supreme Court decision, which allows lower court rulings to stay in place, but is fully prepared to defend ourselves as this matter proceeds. David Gottlieb and Douglas Wigdor, attorneys for the plaintiffs, said they were pleased with the decision. The NFL must now accept that its commissioner cannot be the arbitrator over discrimination claims against the league and its teams. We look forward to litigating these claims in court. Which, like you say, I'm no legal person, but sometimes it does seem like, the league, for instance, who's the ball player that was just over the weekend? God, why can't I think? I should have said
NFL player?
No. A Major League Baseball player. Something with a minor 14-year-old girl. He had a inappropriate relationship with. As a matter of fact, the mother of the child also.
I heard about it
because she She accepted money from the player.
Okay.
To basically, here, if you want to have a relation with my daughter, here you go.
Good
I'll
Lord.
take the money. He was, and it wasn't in the United States. This was the Dominican Republic.
I don't know.
He was. Well,
you're just thinking out loud.
Yeah, I'm thinking out loud. I know that you didn't. You said you weren't following the story very closely, but what happened was the league though can still, even though he was pardoned, basically is what the story said, but the league can still, they can hand down any punishment that they see fit. So the leagues are pretty powerful in what they can do, right?
Oh, absolutely. Suspensions, fines, whatever it might be, a combination. Yeah, we've seen that before in any number of cases that, there's, and as it should be, there's clauses in contracts, there's personal conduct policies, which we've seen. It's a blanket sort of policy.
Here's the story. Wander Franco.
Oh, okay.
Tampa Bay shortstop Wander Franco was declared criminally responsible for the sexual and psychological abuse of a minor, but he will not serve a sentence for it, a Dominican judge ruled. In his decision, Judge Jose Antonio Nunez considered that Franco had been the victim of extortion and blackmail by the minor's mother, who was sentenced to 10 years in prison for sexually trafficking her daughter.
Jesus.
Nunez said, it seems contradictory to declare criminal responsibility at the same time exempt him from punishment. The court has granted Wander Franco a judicial pardon due to the particular circumstance that made him a material victim, but not a legal one. The judge justified the judicial pardon as a logical and legal reasoning. Franco was arrested January 2024 after being accused of having a 4-month relationship with a girl who was 14 at the time and transferring thousands of dollars to her mother to consent to the illegal relationship. And then, as it says, Major League Baseball, the Rays. Here it says Franco has not had. Franco also said he had not contacted the Rays, but his lawyers had. The Rays said in a statement to multiple outlets, "We respect the legal process and the decision issued by the court. This is a serious matter, and our thoughts remain with those affected by the case. The Rays will continue to cooperate fully with Major League Baseball as it completes its review under the league's joint domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse policy. Out of respect for the legal process and the parties involved, we have no further comment at this time. MLB said it will conclude our investigation at the appropriate time." So even though, it's
that's lower than low.
Yeah,
I can't it's Major League Baseball player.
Yeah, and so but
the 14-year-old.
But Major League Baseball will be able to, if they would like to, they can.
They can pursue.
And when I'm sure you would think they'll have
repercussions.
You would think.
Let's hope so.
You mentioned OTAs. What's happening over there? What can you tell us?
Nothing.
Right know something.
No, I don't know anything. I mean, somebody, whatever reason, this is why social media is such a gutter, but somebody posted something claiming it was Kyler Murray throwing a long pass to Jordan Addison with fans in the stands, which, of course, they're not having right now. And secondly, it wasn't Kyler Murray. And thirdly, it was from last year. And I was just like, wait a minute, this isn't even from today. But people may fall for it and go, well,
I think it was today.
Yeah, well, no, it actually wasn't. It wasn't. It's I think that the interesting is it Jonathan Allen. The Vikings are going to come into some money right now. It might be $11 million. So I don't think they're done with their roster. There are people still out, free agents out there. Could be a center, could be another defensive lineman, safety. I mean, we haven't heard from anything about Harrison Smith yet, which may be July before we hear exactly if he's going to retire or not. But the Vikings will have extra income to spend. If there are still players out there in the weeds, as they say, that they could sign a player or two. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. They signed some free agent last week from I don't think he wasn't a big name, he was just another big body in the defensive line. But that's probably the biggest news until they get out there this week. And it's when a series of string of. I know all the reporters are chomping at the bit to get out there to watch. Nothing happened, I don't think, today that they were able to witness. I don't think it officially starts tomorrow, but officially. But we'll get snippets of what goes on. And, it's going to be an uncommon. We're going to have this discussion how many times? What can J.J. McCarthy do to turn the tide? And by all appearances, I mean, he's going to be the backup. I mean, I don't know what he can do in practice. We're talking about practice, or when they scrimmage the Ravens, or he's not going to, whenever he does in the preseason, when he's not playing with Justin Jefferson or his starting offensive line, or, what are you going to do to turn heads enough? I'm sure there are certain drills and things they've been looking and breaking down film to say, God, JJ has taken some major steps this offseason. We shouldn't have rushed him the way we did. But that doesn't mean he's going to get the starting job. I think barring an injury, it's slim to none that I think that he's going to be the starting quarterback against the Packers on their first game of the season. But, we'll see. Is it a fair competition? I don't even know what that means. I don't know how to decipher that.
Yeah.
No.
On the Harrison Smith thing.
Yeah.
I've thought all along, and it's just a guess because nobody knows, he's not said anything.
Right.
If you remember last year, was it in the Lions game, was it last home game? They pulled him out of the game and made a big announcement.
Big farewell.
And, meanwhile, Thielen and fullback guy.
CJ Ham.
Ham. They announced a retirement.
Correct.
And so there are some of us, including myself, that, well, why wouldn't Harrison Smith be involved in that announcement? And then there was some would say, well, because Harrison Smith's borderline Hall of Famer, if he's going to do it, they're going to do it on his own, make an announcement. But I also think too, if you were planning to retire, or maybe he hasn't made a decision. I think he's coming back to play one more season. I just don't. I think he would have made the announcement. It just seems to me you would have made the announcement already.
You would think so.
You would think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But that's the beauty of it. Don't have to make a decision before you have to. And I think, there's an open dialogue. And when KOC does talk to him, he's always said, we don't really talk about that. We talk about family and this and that. And, I understand it from a standpoint of Harrison Smith like that, thinking, do I want to go through this one more summer? I want to go through training camp, although it's not nearly as, when I say tough, they don't do the 3 a days are hitting each other and all. But there's a psychological aspect of, do I want to put myself through all that, which a lot of football players just don't want to do at that point of their careers. But, he could call KLC. I'll see you middle of August. I'm ready. I'm in tip-top shape. I can come in. I know the system. I can help some of the younger players, and I don't think KLC would say no. I would automatically give him that starting job. I would safely say he's probably still the number one guy if they brought him back. But
he's crafty.
He is crafty. He's still got some. He knows how to play the position, and I don't think physically he hasn't had the game doesn't seemingly have taken a toll on him. Like many other players, even playing that position. So it's an open-minded kind of thing. But yeah, you would think that by now he would have gone, I'm done. We're now almost into June and we haven't heard anything. So
I think he's playing.
I hope you're right. I'd like to see him back. Even though he had kind of a farewell at US Bank, everybody was hugging it out with him, and opponents came over and patted him on the back. It sure seemed like he was done. And his emotions were certainly indicating that, but he wouldn't be the last football player to kind of, not even change his mind. He hasn't said he's officially retired. He said, well, I'm unretiring Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers. I'm coming back. He hasn't made an announcement yet.
You were talking about the Knickerbockers and getting the finals for the first time since '99, right?
Yeah, they haven't won a title since, 73 or something?
And they're throwing all sorts of different, stats out there. Like, I think since their last appearance in the finals, they have, since then, combined, they have the third worst record combined in the National Basketball Association.
Awful.
They've had 14 coaches since that time. And I think another one I saw was they had 18 starting point guards since the last time we were in the finals. So when you talk about droughts, and, Viking fans know all about droughts from going to the big game. 78, 79 season was the last, I think. Was it 77 or 78 or 78?
Oh, the big game?
Yeah.
77.
77, 78. It's...
I've repeated the story before, but, I've my love for the city of New York. My mom was born in Brooklyn and all that. And I went to a deli by myself one day and I was checking out at the counter, at the cash register up front. And the guy looked at me and goes, I said, hey, he saw how tall I was. He goes, hey, do you play for the Knicks? Kind of was laughing. I went, man, I'm too old to play for the Knicks.
You look like you could.
And his response was, "You're never too old to play for the Knicks."
Is that what he said?
Oh, yeah. And it was just that great, that perfect New York, sarcastic, screw these guys kind of thing. And it was like, man, I cracked up laughing. And I thought, man, it's been that way. They've been a punchline for a long, long time. And, they've tried and tried. And now, all the stars are out. And they're coming out of the woodwork to be courtside. Someone said the finals game, there's one ticket that went for like over $200,000 to sit courtside.
Oh, come on.
I'm not kidding. I mean, to sit next to Ben Stiller or something, or I don't know, Spike Lee. They have the. It'll be an experience. That'll be for sure. That's great, and I love it. I think it's great, and let cats soak it all in. And no matter who they play, it's going to be. It's the kind of final I think that the NBA is desperately. You got the biggest market. You got New York. You got the Knicks. And then you got either the defending champs or you got Wemby. I mean, you can't lose in terms of a marquee matchup. No, it's going to be a win-win for the league.
I think this Twins club is starting to catch on with you.
It is. I spent a lot of time this past weekend. I watched more Twins baseball. Like I said, we were just kind of kicking back. I watched Band of Brothers pretty much all day yesterday, which was phenomenal. I hadn't seen it.
What was it?
Band of Brothers, the HBO series on the Easy Company from World War II. It's just so well done. I know it came out in 2001, but I missed about 4 or 5 of the episodes, and I was locked into it. But I did. They beat the woebegone Red Sox. They swept the series from them.
First time they swept the Red Sox since at Fenway, and I don't remember how many years it was. Was it like 30? Or is that too many?
I don't know.
I thought it was like 32 years.
But they found a way. Ryan's pitching tonight against an improved White Sox team. It's been horrible, but pretty much the entire American League, other than the Yankees, is hovering or below 500. White Sox are a game, I think, or two above it. But the Twins have some game to them right now. I mean, they're the Taj Bradley and Zeb Matthews, and obviously Bailey Ober, and they're getting some pitching, and they're trying to figure out the bullpen, which we all know was just a hot mess at the beginning of the year. And we'll see what happens. I talked to Lavelle today on my little podcast. I said, what are they going to do with Royce? He's hitting home run after home run, but he's in St. Paul. Is that going to translate back to the big leagues? He goes, well, I think he'll be there for a couple more weeks, to help him get straightened out. But I don't think there's any doubt Royce Lewis will be back, with the Twins probably within a couple of weeks. They have to.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
that's not that bold of a prediction.
No, it's not.
I mean, you can't play in the minors for the rest of the season.
No,
you're either going to
meaningless home runs. Yeah,
you're either going to play them or not.
Right. But yeah, they're. I mean, you can tell they're kind of feeding off each other a little bit and having some fun.
You like them, don't you?
Well, I mean, I got to admit, I spent more time watching Twins this weekend because I was home and. Than I have all season. And I kind of like a lot of what they're doing. I think their bullpen is still a big question mark. You're throwing guys out there that are just bringing up from the minors, and Adams and some of these guys I've never even heard of. Larnach got hot in Boston. I think he went 4 for 4. He got, he's been stinging the ball pretty good. Yeah, they got some talent. I mean, but again, it's also a reflection on, man, I don't know what's going on. Like a lot of these teams that spend a lot of money. I mean, look what's going on with the Tigers, and Cleveland's the only team that's really kind of taken over a little bit. The rest of them are, Tampa Bay.
You could say that the AL Central has maybe the most surprising team in the White Sox. Not that they're great, but to where they were the last couple of years and where they are now. And then the most disappointing team would be the Tigers. Because
that's crazy.
The Tigers are awful right now, and you wouldn't think they would be with that everyday lineup they have.
They're
pitching
21-33.
Yeah,
I mean that's just dismal. And the Athletics playing in Sacramento are in first place over. Not again, they're playing 500 ball, but how many teams are? I mean, Tampa Bay is off to a great start. The Yankees are 10 games over 500. Otherwise, Toronto, Baltimore, Boston. The Twins are under 500. Kansas City, Detroit, Seattle, Texas, Houston, and the Angels are all well under 500.
What was disappointing, I think, about yesterday is because Deuce and I watched a good portion of.
had their
of
chances.
the Twins game. We were helping baby brother Peter, or we weren't helping. We were watching him pack for San Francisco.
Aww.
He flew out yesterday. He's out there for his internship.
Yeah, good for him.
So we were spending some time indoors watching the Twins. And the White Sox had two significant defensive faux pas in which the hometown scorer gave hits rather than errors. But they had a couple of blunders out there that gave the Twins an opportunity, but they just couldn't score yesterday. Which
has been unusual for them, because they've been capitalizing for the most part, and during this last 10-game streak, they've been playing, they've been doing much better with men in scoring position. So,
will we see you at the Goose that laid the golden egg? Will you be going down to Target Field?
I'm going to be there next Monday night with my daughter. Yeah, okay. We're going to go to the game. They're playing the White Sox. Speaking of the White Sox, they're playing on Monday night, so we kind of picked our first date to go out, and so yeah, Monday night they're back home playing those same Chicago White Sox. She actually texted me. She goes, she was watching, I think, at work. She was watching Zeb Matthews. She goes, I don't know if she has a crush on. I don't know. She says, man,
does she have a crush on Zeb?
I don't know. Matthews? I said he threw it. All she said was baseball stuff. I said, well, maybe he'll pitch. I don't know what the pitching rotation is going to look like, but hopefully he'll pitch on Monday against the White Sox.
So
there you go. So yeah, I am going to go.
Daughter's got a crush on Zeb Matthews.
I should have said that.
Yeah, baby. It sounds like it, doesn't it?
Please don't.
Way to reveal all our secrets to.
I didn't. Oh man, I'm going to get killed. I don't know. She was just talking. She texted me about baseball.
About baseball.
That's what it was. But this guy's throwing like.
Sounds like it was more than baseball.
Yeah.
You guys can read into it. Well, actually, I kind of read into it.
You read into it. Says first sweep at Fenway since '94.
Wow.
So that was about 30 years ago, wasn't it?
Was Yaz still playing in left field?
Twins beat Raj Clemens that day.
Yeah, his kid did pretty well in front of him over.
And now his kid plays for us.
How about that?
Well, it's good to see you again.
Absolutely.
Will you be back tomorrow?